What's up, people? Welcome to a world where being rich is the best superpower. My birth certificate says I'm Charles, and that's what we'll go with. I'm going to talk more about this potential theoretical Batman cinematic universe, going to get into what allies and enemies should be in these films, and unlike that friend that spends way too much time giving unnecessary details in a story, I'm going to get right into part two. So, here we go. The first expanded movie is Nightwing. Nightwing was the first Robin, Dick Grayson. And after witnessing his own parents die in front of him too, in an acrobatic accident, Grayson had little options in where to continue his life. Knowing what that trauma feels like, Bruce Wayne adopted him and later trained him to become Robin. The first layer this film could actually go into is just simply give an audience a solo Nightwing project. There's been rumors, speculation that something like this might happen in a live action series or even a movie, but nothing ever did happen. It's like when your friend keeps saying they'll pay you back, but they never actually do. So yeah, just pay off fan desire with this one. Simple. Second, it can dive into some things like making it on your own, stepping out of someone's shadow, finding yourself, claiming your identity, and so on and so on and so on. Now, this has been touched upon in the live action series Titans on HBO Max, but the big difference here is in that portrayal. He is dark, strict, lost, angry, maybe depressed, on the edge. He eventually comes around all that, but a true Nightwing is playful, charming, sarcastic, a jokester, lighthearted, upbeat, and smiles. It's like that one friend that buys you food when you're having a bad day. Anyway, that's a little off topic, but this could actually explore those things, but use a more accurate Nightwing. And if those two elements are used right, it can add a little bit more weight and emotion to the story. Out in the field, he can be all those positive emotions, but once he goes back to his base alone, all the weight of stepping away from Batman crashes onto him. He's struggling to keep the smiles up while dealing with his burden. No matter how much he tries to be his own man, he's always getting pulled back to Batman, which drives frustration in him. Like how a friend is always associated with an embarrassing moment, like the time they farted while sneezing. Another layer, this one is way more opinionated, but it can use the spy thriller, political thriller genre as a base. Just look at the Mission Impossible and James Bond movies. Each one has been way more action oriented, bigger, and bolder than the last. It's like each outing you have with your friends. It starts innocent, but eventually you roast each other's existence. Those films went from having meetings on a train to jumping onto falling trains. Action that seems like it comes straight from a comic book already. There could be a threat large enough for Batman to stop, or for some reason or another he can't get to it. That leaves the window open for Nightwing to solve it. An enemy, which I'm thinking could be Bane, can move his evil deeds from Gotham to a global stage. I mean, what better way to step away from someone, prove yourself to people that beating an enemy that can beat Batman? The next movie should, actually needs to, focus on Red Hood. If anyone wants to know his background, just check out the previous video. It's brief, it's short, but it covers enough. Just like that small shirt that your big friend refuses to let go. Now, this film has potential to be violent. Batman related material has potential to be rated R, and the Batman was believed, I believe, to be rated R at one point, but those hopes were quickly killed, like when a friend says they're coming to your function but they never actually come through. But this has high potential to be another R rated Batman related project. As discussed in the last video, Red Hood is really rough when he serves out his punishment, like that friend that takes payback a little too seriously at times. So, an R rating could allow Red Hood to reach the potential he has, the violent potential he has, I should say. And this could be where this film can take some cues from the John Wick franchise. In those movies, the action is so well choreographed, prominent, common, and brutal that, in a way, kind of becomes a character. Trust me, people who do not know Red Hood, the brutality in those fights could easily fit him. I mean, just a little thought experiment for those who do know him. Just imagine Red Hood in those scenes instead of John Wick. I promise all of you, it would not be out of character for Red Hood at all. And there is passion and support for darker superhero material. Deadpool, The Boys, Daredevil, and The Punisher on Netflix, and Invincible, and even The Batman, all darker, more adult oriented, but all successful and have support. The next layer it can jump into could actually take some notes from the potential Nightwing film I was talking about. Again, that movie can be about stepping out of someone's shadow. This Red Hood film can do the same, but get more personal, get more painful with it. As Red Hood is finding himself, he's also fighting his demons. Basically, he's fighting himself. Within the crazy world of comic books, resurrections always happen. They're as consistent as that one friend who was always late to everything. And there seems to be a dilemma with each resurrection because a part of that person doesn't come back with them. Their soul, their humility, memories, kindness, so forth and so forth don't come back with them the same. Yeah, comic books get really weird. And the movie could really spotlight that dilemma with Red Hood. We can see him go from a broken man to a more whole one, as best as he can get there. And he has to answer the questions, who am I? Who was I? Am I a monster? Am I good enough to go back to Batman? And that leads into another level of depth, the struggle to choose between the League of Assassins, Batman, or himself. So the League of Assassins could come after Red Hood because their leader, Ra's al Ghul, wants Batman to succeed him, but Batman always turns him down. Red Hood could be a second chance, so to speak, and since both sides have a bit of hatred toward Batman, Red Hood actually thinks about it, but Batman was the one who took Jason Todd in when he was living on the streets. Todd had nothing, but Batman, Bruce Wayne, and Alfred gave Jason a second life, offered him a second chance of their own, so to speak. That's something he can think about repaying, or he cannot be bothered by either side at all. Even with their persuasion and presence, the dude just walks his own path. It's like when two friends are arguing and you just let them settle it out, no matter how it might look like. Next movie is Catwoman. Now, big disclaimer, this movie has been tried before, but failed rather miserably. I mean, like, bad. It was like seeing your friend taking his chances with a girl, but failing just as bad. It was hot garbage. But Zoe Kravitz brought enough strength, vulnerability, mysteriousness, beauty, elegance, grace, and intensity to this role to carry her own Catwoman film. I mean, there was rumors at one point she was getting her own HBO Max series, but as of right now, it's not happening. But right there shows that at least, some people had trust in her to carry something. And it honestly shouldn't go away. Unlike that one friend that leaves a party without saying goodbye, there's a lot to be explored with this version of Catwoman, especially with the cliffhanger she had at the end of the Batman. And the biggest one, I think, is have the movie showcase the struggle she's facing finding herself while being alone. She no longer has the security she had because of her dad. She no longer has anyone to emotionally rely on as she had with Annika, and no longer has Batman, which provided Catwoman with both of those things. It's like when someone triggers an inside joke you have with your friends, but none of them around to enjoy that moment. You just feel alone for a deep, heavy minute. She's alone while trying to separate from her prior life in a place that she's probably unfamiliar with. And to add one more layer, this film could focus on what it means to be an anti-hero. There has been quite a handful of anti-hero movies, but there is an argument that could be said Catwoman is the poster child for that group. She's always straddled the line between good and bad no matter what the story she is in. Just think of this. She's already in Bloodhaven, a sister city to Gotham, so that could mean it's untouched land for criminals. Maybe some up-and-coming criminals in Gotham were spooked by Batman, which forced them to go to Bloodhaven, and that's where they're setting up their operations. That could collide with Catwoman's mission to rediscover herself, which could also mean she's stealing from the rich like she does in a lot of other incarnations. She wants to solely focus on her and absolutely nothing else. But the expanding power this criminal is growing threatens or rubs against or gets in the way of that. Similar to when you want to relax, sleep, rest, take some time for yourself, but that one friend is always texting and calling you to go out. Somehow they get you to go. This leaves a chance for her to continue on her personal mission or to step in and help save Bloodhaven from this power grab. Another potential movie is Batgirl. Now, I have to make another disclaimer. This movie was tried as well, But that story for that is, wow, could be saved for another time. Long story short, though, it literally did not go all the way through. Like when your friend or friends said they'll show up, promise you that they will, but they don't. But this potential movie could have an option, which the other film probably thought about, at least I want to say, I at least want to believe. It can be a Batgirl centric film, obviously, or it can be an Oracle centric film. If gone the Batgirl way, this movie can focus on a Batman sidekick trying to prove themselves to Batman rather than Batman seeing the potential one already. Batgirl, rather Barbara Gordon actually, daughter of Commissioner Gordon, could be fascinated with Batman since there is this type of a friend type of connection to him. You know, like that friend of a friend relationship you had with that one friend until you became friends with that friend. Since her dad is a cop, she could very easily adopt that persona of wanting to help people, but knowing how bad and brutal Gotham could be, especially the, the Gotham that the Batman already set up, Commissioner Gordon keeps her away from that at all costs. So she tries her luck with Batman in trying to help out Gotham by being by his side, but he too keeps her away. But this can drive that need to help people even more. She tries to do all that she can to prove herself to Batman, and she can do it by beating an enemy like Scarecrow. I mean, what better way to prove yourself to a man that provokes fear, a man that weaponizes fear, than beating a master of fear himself like Scarecrow? The other way is the Oracle way. Barbara retired from being Batgirl, then decided to live the civilian life. But a near death experience at the hands of the Joker changed her trajectory. After the incident, she was paralyzed waist down and confined to a wheelchair. But undeterred, determined, and still with an immense desire to help, she adopted the name Oracle. In this role, she became an eye in the sky type of character for the Bat family. While in the Batcave or another remote location, she hacks all types of systems the team needs to be hacked while they're out in the field. Made their life so much easier, like a friend that pulls you out of a rut after a bad breakup or a heartbreak. But if gone this route, it can be two birds, one stone type of deal. While we could potentially see an Oracle focused movie, we can still get flashbacks to when she was Batgirl. Those flashbacks can be on her last mission as Batgirl before she decides to retire on her own, or before the accident with the Joker. This way, we can see the rise, the stumble, then the rise again of Barbara Gordon. Alright, with the allies out of the way for now, it's time for the villains. The next potential movie that's up is Deathstroke. For those unfamiliar with him, he's a cross between Deadpool and Captain America, but without the jokes and the hopeful speeches. He's a mercenary that takes action wherever a rich finger is pointing. Most of the time, he doesn't care who his target is, he just cares about taking them out. It's kind of like that one friend that will do anything for $20 because to them, $20 is $20. Now, there is no real vision of a story I have for this movie, but more of an idea of what it could establish. Previously mentioned, Batman can not only go toe to toe with anyone, but can beat anyone. This creates a Gary Stu situation for Batman. Basically, he is just too perfect of a character. No flaws, no weaknesses, no drawbacks, anything like that. That brings to the question, where is there any type of conflict for him? Well, at least for this theoretical cinematic universe, that's where Deathstroke comes in. Deathstroke is enhanced through military experiments because of, well, comic books. So, right from the start, he is stronger, faster, quicker than Batman, on top of his mastery in weapon handling and battle strategy that rivals Batman's own. Like that one friend that brags that they're better than you in any game, and there's little you can do to beat them, makes it annoying as hell. Anyway, since he is a mercenary, he travels the world. That, in of itself, can do two things. One, it could really expand the Batman world by traveling, well, across the world. Deathstroke can be the way in to explore the other popular cities within DC. We can see how their image works within the Batman's already established world. And two, Deathstroke can be sent to take out all different kinds of enemies, whether they're enhanced, powered, supernatural, and or highly skilled. And Deathstroke does it. Like how you beat a friend or friends when they doubted you can. By seeing him do all this, it puts in the belief that Deathstroke can not only go toe to toe with Batman, but can actually beat him outright. Basically, this film could establish Deathstroke as the ultimate threat. He can be set up as a Thanos type of villain that is just waiting to take on the hero. And to continue the villain theme and to round this out, you can't have a Batman cinematic universe without the clown prince of crime, the jester of genocide, Mr. J, the Joker. And to add more spice to this, Harley Quinn needs to join him too, but way less of an abused subordinate and more of someone that is his equal, someone that matches his crazy. No matter where Batman goes, the Joker goes. If Batman exists, so does the Joker. The Joker just lingers around like that one friend who doesn't take the hints you want them to leave because it's late or you simply want them to leave. Just as much as Batman will never go away, neither will the Joker. He's here to stay. So, like the Deathstroke movie, I don't really have an idea for this story. Not even an idea of what impact this movie will have on this theoretical universe. But at the very least, this film could expand the Joker and Harley Quinn. But before we get into the Joker, let's first talk about Harley Quinn. Over the years, she has had a drastic change. She first began as a sidekick to a villain, which kind of made her a villain. Then she became a tragic character, then kind of straddled between those roles. Then she became an anti hero, and now she stands on her own as her own character. Now, here is an opinionated opinion. She could be, and probably had a chance to be, the face for female villains. Catwoman can take that title, but she has always straddled that line. Poison Ivy could too, but DC is or was pushing her to be an anti hero too. The Joker, it could be said, is the face of all comic book villains, but Harley had a chance to match that, I believe, in my opinion. But DC took her into a different route, and to credit them, it has worked out big for her. I know by putting her back into the villain role, it can probably just double the Joker antics, but in the hands of a good writer, she can be completely different from him. Like, for example, Harley can use her background as a psychiatrist to mentally break down her victims to interrogate, torture, intimidate, or punish. Use that as her trademark. At the very least, this film can show the potential she still has to be a villain, like that one friend that mixes M&Ms and Skittles in the same party dish. You never trust them after that. Now, going back to the Joker, this movie can showcase a side of him films haven't necessarily shown yet. I'm talking about a theatric, larger-than-life, balls-to-the-wall, explosive, volatile version of him. Each actor that has portrayed him has brought a little something different to the Joker. Like a group of friends. One is a leader, one is a funny one is crazy, one brings in all the girls or guys, one is a shit talker, and one is just that unlucky one all the time. But as great as a job those actors did, none have really tapped into the bombastic side of the Joker. He is a character that faces the Justice League as a whole with no hesitation at all a few times. He wanted to command an army of monsters and had a part in trying to destroy multiple Earths. That's much larger and more on an epic scale than what the live action portrayals have shown. This is a chance to kind of set the Joker loose and make him go big here. Set him up as a larger than life character he has been in the comics. That leads into another aspect, which is to make this movie rated R, just like Red Hood. Ironically, the only true and through R-rated supervillain movie was Joker. The past couple times an R-rated super movie has been released, they've been about anti-heroes. Yet has there been an outright R-rated villain movie? Here is that chance. And plus, the Joker has done some R-rated stuff in comic books and in games. A movie could allow so much more freedom. Look no further than Phoenix's Joker. Even though the Joker has been portrayed and worked in some family-friendly content, I think it can advance him a little bit more by putting him in more R-rated outings. That means it can be brutal, like reading or listening to your friends drunken messages to their exes. And there you have it, people. That's just a really broad idea of where I think a theoretical Batman cinematic universe could go. Obviously, there are way more stories and characters that could be used. Maybe I'll talk about them another time when. and if ideas come up for them. But guys, always remember to enjoy the little things, even if it causes just a little bit of trouble. Deuces.